So today at the Hohlen Homestead, we worked on a good sized project in creating a new flower bed. We're calling this the Walnut Bed because one of the trees it sits under is this good sized black walnut tree, and the other one is a maple. And so designing this bed is a kind of a two-part process. We had to find plants that would work underneath a black walnut tree. It produces something called jugalone that inhibits the growth of many plants. And so we looked for native plants that would work in this area. And that's the other part. We looked for native plants that would tolerate part shade. See this dappled shade it provides throughout the yard. And so that's kind of what we're working with. The maple has a bit denser shade, but it gets more sun near the base of it. And so then we worked today on getting this bed all broken up and prepared. So we didn't necessarily use my favorite method to create a new bed because we were somewhat time restricted. My favorite method is solarizing the bed. That's putting down tarps or something to kind of warm the ground but also block out the light from the weeds and the grass without digging up the beds. And so we weren't able to do that today, so we dug them up and used an electric cultivator to prepare this area. That can have some drawbacks, but it was faster. And we're going to be planting some native plants in here that I'll go over with you in a little bit. But it was a big project that we worked on for most of the day today to create this nice area. And so one of the reasons we wanted to do this is because it was difficult to mow around these trees, especially since this tree has a fellow tree that fell last year next to it. You can still see part of the stump there. We cut that down, and so it was more difficult to mow in this area. So we wanted to make it easier to maintain and also provide food for native insects and animals with some of the plants. And so it's all about right plant, right place as far as the type of soil here. It's pretty rich and well draining, but a little bit dry in some spots, especially with the drought and the trees. You can hear the dogs with the trees taking up a lot of the moisture. And then, planting underneath the black walnut tree. So there's quite a few things to think about. And then we'll go over plants in a little bit because we're going to start putting some in the ground. Alright, so as far as plant selection out here, we've got many different things that we're planting. This is prairie pussy toes. They're looking a little sad right now because with this drought and the plugs they were sitting in, they didn't retain water very well, but they've got nice roots that are still alive, and they'll bounce back. So they're a good ground cover plant. We're going to plant those along the outside under the black walnut. Over here we have Canadian anemone, which will also be a good ground cover plant around the outside. We accidentally grew this sedge, which is supposed to be straw colored sedge. It's not a grass, it's a sedge. They have triangular stems, and this will be some good ground cover. There's a plug of wild bergamot, which is a type of bee balm, chilling in there, that we're going to plant out. Then we've got some crested oval sedge around the base of the maple to plant. Lots of good ground covers. We're going to come back to these. And we've got some wild strawberries here. So we grew these from seeds. The plugs that you're seeing, except for the straw-colored sedge, we grew that one from seed. That was an accident. And all the following plants will have grown from seed, but they're the plugs we bought. So this is wild strawberry. It'll make a good ground cover with edible berries, and it's sending out these runners to create more wild strawberries, hence why it's a good ground cover, because it just likes to propagate. And so we've got 3 of those plants here. And this area under the maple will get more sun, so we've changed up our planting a little bit with some purple giant hyssop. We also have this out in the prairie patches. It's going to go on the edge because it likes a more disturbed area. Sweet everlasting, which is also called rabbit tobacco, and if you smell it, it has a very, I don't know how to describe the scent, but it's got a very unique scent that I really like. And these are wild petunias. Also prefer a little bit more sun. So then, to round out the bulk of our planting, we've got a few more things here. We've got some early goldenrod, which will create some nice yellow flowers for us. Black walnut tolerant, New England asters, purplish, light purple lavender flowers. Also going to be black walnut tolerant. Mist flower, some more purplish flowers, black walnut tolerant, and then zigzag goldenrod there in the back. Black walnut tolerant. So going to be some good native plants to put down. We grew all these from seed, which is a great way to save money when we're all working on budgets and trying to do our best to improve our landscapes. So you can see the finished product. We've gone with the plants that will get taller in the middle and closer to the bases of the trees. So we have those New England asters in the middle. They get to be about 5 feet tall, unless you do a Chelsea chop to cut them back. But being a native supporting plant, I like them to flower in their appropriate time period and get to be their appropriate size. Then we worked our way out to the edge, slowly getting shorter, and we will want to fill the edges in with ground cover, such as those wild strawberries, the Canadian anemone, and the prairie pussy toes. So this has been a really good project that's got diverse growing conditions, a lot of it being in shade, but some of it being underneath this black walnut, which we talked about can produce some difficulties. But on the east end of the maple, we actually get a lot of sun due to how the tree grew and its canopy formed. So I put some more sun-loving plants there, like the wild petunias and the rabbit tobacco, which also known as sweet everlasting. And this end is going to need some more bulking out and to create some more beauty. So here behind me, you can see the finished product of the walnut bed that we put in. And so this project was very important to us to help improve some of the maintenance as we can mow better around this area. But it was also important to support native plants by planting them here. We're going to support native pollinators, other native insects that aren't pollinators, native birds by providing them food through the insects or the seeds that these plants create, and other native mammals, other native animals that all work within this ecosystem. So we're not just helping pollinators here, we're helping to work with the entire ecosystem and restore native animals. And so even just planting some of these species of goldenrod alone, we're helping 70 plus pollinators with the goldenrods. But there are a lot of more great plants in here. And we're going to continue to add to this area things that will be able to thrive underneath the shade of the black walnut, as well as the shade of this maple, and be a really nice area to look at, but also to know that our ecosystem is being supported by it. We're going to continue to do research into it and find more seeds from Prairie Moon Nursery and get those planted out in this bed. Start them this coming winter, and hopefully have those go out next year. They say that native plants in their first year sleep, so they're kind of small, getting bigger. Then they creep their second year, they get a little bit bigger, but then their third year they leap and really start to become something impressive. So I'm looking forward to the future of this area and to see what other sorts of brilliant plants that we can put in here to enjoy and know that we're doing our part to help our native plants and animals.